Yo, what's up? It's your brother. And hopefully your friend Big Here. Rhetoric in the building. Black African Power. Each one teach one. Hey, look, I was just studying one of my spiritual texts. My 11 Laws of God. I think I bought this book here about 10 years ago. I've been studying this book for about 10 years. You know, at various times I would put it down and wouldn't pick it back up for a while. You know, but I think for a couple of years I studied it pretty strong, 2 or 3 years. Well, basically most of the precepts and the concepts in the book is inside my head, the things I just begin to practice in my life. And one of the things that I want to share out this book with you is about how the skill of transcending your emotions, rising above your emotions. Because I remember one time, man, someone asked me, how could I be so cold-hearted? I'm like, I'm not cold-hearted. Well, like, you just don't let things bother you. You're non-emotional. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very emotional. I'm very sensitive. I'm a Pisces. If you know anything about that, you know Pisces are sensitive people. It's just that I know how to rise above my emotion because I practiced it for a long time. You know what I'm saying? I practiced things like controlling my anger, not letting sadness, rising above sadness and fear, and all these different feelings and emotions that we go through. And I learned that concept from this book right here. And once I got hold to that concept, I started practicing it. So over time, I became skillful at it. So right now, I just want to share something with you right quick out of this book. I think this is some important information. Check it out. It says, there's the common erroneous belief that happiness is to be found as a result of material acquisitions or accomplishments, coupled with the avoidance and elimination of painful experiences. As a result, people invest their energy and time in acquiring and accomplishing things, avoiding and eliminating people and events from their lives, etc., instead of cultivating the spiritual skill of transcending their emotional and sensual conditionings. Once it is realized that no one can avoid setbacks, denials, and catastrophes in life, and no one will get everything desired or always get to keep them, then the only wise thing that can be done to secure happiness and unassailable inner peace is through spiritual cultivation. And I think that's important because I'm quite sure you can agree, and I used to be one of them people, man, that before I understood what happiness was, that happiness is an internal dynamic, and that if you don't make happiness an internal dynamic, you will spend the rest of your life chasing happiness because you're placing happiness in things and people and situations and circumstances. Then happiness becomes a fleeting emotion. You know, like once the situation, circumstance, or people change on you, then the happiness is gone. So once I learned that and understood that, I realized that I need to make happiness an internal dynamic. And by making it an internal dynamic, I will always have a place on the inside to go to when I want to feel happy. And no one else or anything else is responsible for that happiness. It says, once it is realized that no one can avoid setbacks, denials, and catastrophes in life. These things can't be avoided. You know, but when they happen, the emotional health of a person becomes evident in the way they respond to these things. You know what I'm saying? An emotionally healthy person can respond to setbacks, denials, and catastrophes in a healthy manner. You know, there's a saying that hurt people, right? And the reason why is because unhealthy emotional person cannot respond healthy to emotional pain. It's only when you become emotionally healthy that your response to emotional pain can be of an emotional nature. it says, once we realize that no one can avoid these things, then the only wise thing can be done is to secure happiness and unassailable inner peace. An unassailable inner peace. That means, like, I think, you know, in the Bible, it was a part in there that says a peace that transcends all understanding. That's the kind of peace that I strive for. That's why, man, since I got this concept, I started looking at everything, you know, like in this book right here. I hate when I do that. I'm trying to get over that. I have so many thoughts, and I have so many thoughts in my head that I'll start one thought, and I'll get halfway through it, and I'll go straight to the next thought. And that makes what I'm trying to say disjointed. But anyway, once I started studying this book, right, and I started understanding the concept about the 11 laws, and the first law being the law of Amen. You know, the law of Amen says that our original nature is a peaceful nature, but we are conditioned by things that happen in our lives, and by being conditioned like that, we become conditioned to respond in certain type of ways. You know what I'm saying? So once I understood that and I started looking at my life and realized that was true in my experience, I made a point to pay very close attention to how I respond to things. Becoming someone who don't respond, who don't react, but respond. See, a reaction and a response is two different things. When you react to stuff, you can be manipulated and controlled. But when you respond to things, then you've regained your power. So once I understood that, I started paying close attention to how I respond to things. And through the process, I realized that when things happen, the first thing that I need to do is to regain my peace. Because only through the reacquisition of the peace can I make a wise choice and decision about what just happened in my life. A denial, a setback, a catastrophe. Some emotional pain that I might have to endure. You know what I'm saying? And through reacquiring that peace that's part of that's our original state, our undisturbed state. By reacquiring that, through that I gain spiritual power. That's what this book teaches. It's 11 laws of God, and the first one is the law of Amen. And in this book right here, it referred to, it says, cultivating the spiritual skill of transcending their emotional and sensual conditioning. See, a lot of us is not even aware. I wasn't aware, and I'm quite sure I'm not the only one that wasn't aware that I had been conditioned, that I had emotional and sensual conditionings, that through the conditionings my response would always be the same, because I've been conditioned to respond to things in a certain type of way. You know, once I started looking at that, I was like, wow. You know, once I accepted that truth, that had happened to me and that's who I was, that's when I began to start paying attention to how I respond to things. You know, it said a spiritual skill. So over time, I've developed that spiritual skill. You know, when things happen, you know, and I'm human. Sometimes I get caught up, but more often than not, when things happen that knocks me off my square or that stops me in my track, the first thing I do is I step back and I take a real good look at what's going on without my emotion. I don't even attach my emotion to it. You know what I'm saying? Because that way, by looking at it unemotionally, I can see it exactly for what it is. Yo, this happened. This is the way I'm perceiving it. This is the way I'm looking at it. And then once I do that, then I determine how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's a process. Sometimes it's a quick process, sometimes it's a bad process, but like the book says, it's a spiritual skill. And I had to develop that skill because I'm one of those dudes that's real passionate, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm one that was like quick-tempered, you know what I'm saying, highly volatile. You know, I was like gas vapors and shit, you know. It didn't take much for me to blow up now. But once I realized, man, I was like that, I had to take a look at all that, man, and then start learning how and cultivating and developing this spiritual skill of how to transcend that emotional nature that I have. And that's what I'm trying to bring forth to us right now, especially the brothers. Because if you look at the men, our men, a lot of our men are being raised by single parents, being raised in single parent homes around their mothers, because 70% of all black households are run by single women. So our young men have that feminine emotional nature. So it's incumbent upon us who have learned how to control our emotional natures to pass that skill, spiritual skill, on down to our younger generation, man. You know what I'm saying? And for the ladies, you know what I'm saying? It's good for you to learn how to learn that too. Learn, man, that everything that happens to you happens for a reason, and learn how to control your emotions and how you respond to the things that happen to you. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people, man, just go off over the little, simplest, smallest things and give this big emotional response. I'm like, wow, that's emotionally unhealthy. So, you know, before I start rambling, man, I just want to share that with you, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go over this one more time so we can just, you know, really think about what it's saying. Because, you know, as I was trying to explain it, I'm all over the place with it. I know what it means to me. And if I give you the information, then you can kind of figure out what it means to you. It says there's the common erroneous belief that happiness to be found is to be found as a result of material acquisitions or accomplishments. You know, how many times have we say, oh, I remember, man, one time when the Cadillac Escalade EXT first came out. Man, I fell in love with that damn vehicle. Every time I would see one, I would just stop and look at it. I fucking have a goddamn orgasm over this vehicle. Then one day, as I began to grow spiritually, you know what I'm saying, I realized how I respond to it. I'm like, oh, yo, that gotta be my next car. That's gonna be my next vehicle. And I realized, I'm like, man, that damn Escalade has done got too much power in your life. The acquisition of one has become just a little bit too important to you. What if you never get the Escalades? Does that mean that your life needs to be unhappy that you don't have that one vehicle? That's why it says the erroneous belief that happiness is to be found as a result of material acquisitions and accomplishments. Ooh, look at me. I got a Cadillac Escalade EXT. Damn, that rhyme, man. Anyway, but look, check it out. And accomplishments is to be coupled with the avoidance of the elimination of painful experiences. You know, being left by your woman, breaking up with somebody you love, the death of a loved one, the death of your parents or a loved one. That's a painful experience. And then, you know, you can't avoid death, but the breaking up with people. And that's why some people stay in unhealthy relationships for so long. Because to break up and walk away from that relationship, they can't deal with the emotional pain that Love Jones is going to come down as a result of it. You know what I'm saying? So it says like the avoidance and elimination of painful experience. So you stay with somebody just because you want to avoid the painful experience of walking away from it. You know, I used to be like that. You know what I'm saying? And today I'm not like that. I just got out of a relationship that I realized wasn't going nowhere, and it was really a waste of time to continue in the relationship because it really wasn't bringing no type of satisfaction other than sex. You know what I'm saying? And so having developed and practiced these principles in this book, I was able to come to the conclusion that, yo, man, yeah, I'm gonna go through a little grieving period because I really like the person, but this is not going anywhere. And if I'm not happy in a relationship, then it's going to become evident in the way that I start treating. And I don't want to mistreat nobody. So the best thing for us to do is just part ways, amicably. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be a lot of drama and shit just because we come to a conclusion that, you know, we're not really compatible. It's just that we grown adults, we can make a grown adult decision about us being together as a unit or a couple. So, you know, I had to learn how to realize that even though that might be a painful experience, that it's okay. Life goes on. But anyway, so as a result, people invest their energy and their time in acquiring and accomplishing things. You know, some people is the type that are always trying to achieve something else. Got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. Because those type of people believe that in those accomplishments, their happiness is. And they realize that, yo, once I accomplish this, there's still that void. So that makes them go and chase after something else because they believe it's like a rat in a maze, you know what I'm saying? Like the little hamster on the wheel or whatever. Keep spinning, never accomplishes anything when it comes to the happiness. Because your happiness is wrapped up in your accomplishments. Happiness is an internal dynamic, not an external dynamic. It's intrinsic, not extrinsic. It says, invest their energy and time in acquiring and accomplishing things, avoiding and eliminating people and events from their lives. All right, like yo, you know, especially on the social media, right? You know, we got people, you know, if you bring a negative vibe to my page, I gotta let you go. I got a couple of Facebook friends, man, they're straight assholes as far as I'm concerned. That really I know I can't get along with. But I'm not gonna just block them or get rid of them off my page, because even those people I have to learn how to use to help me to grow spiritually. I need somebody that's gonna go against the grain, that's gonna rub me the wrong way, so I can learn how to properly respond to them people. That's why I keep them. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, as soon as you say something that I think you shouldn't have said to me, or you bring some kind of negative energy to me, you know, I want to avoid that, so I just eliminate you. Block. Nah, I keep you around. You know, because sometimes I need somebody, I try to resonate so high on my frequency, sometimes I need to, you know, go down into, take my little occasional foray into niggerdom and cuss your motherfucking ass out and let you know how I really feel about you. And if that don't run you off, I'm like, okay, well, you know, I can go back to, you know, I can use the law of polarity and then go back to the higher frequency, and then the next time you come at me with some bullshit, respond to it properly. Anyway. So accomplishing things and avoiding and eliminating people and events from their life, instead of cultivating the spiritual skill of transcending their emotional and sensual conditionings. That's the part that we need to focus on. Cultivating the spiritual skill of transcending their emotional and sensual conditionings. Think about that, what that means to you. Think about how that looks in your life. Have you been emotionally and sensually conditioned? Do you feel like you need to transcend that conditioning in order for you to get to a better place in your life emotionally? Once it is realized that no one can avoid setbacks, denials, and catastrophe, none of us can avoid that. Things happen. And no one will get everything they desire or always get to keep them. You might get a house, lose it. You might get a car and lose it. You might lose a child. Things happen. The only wise thing that can be done to secure happiness, the only wise thing that can be done to secure happiness, to get and hold on to it, and that happiness is an unassailable inner peace, where can't nothing we say back in the day, man, you can't fade me. And that's how I feel today, you know. I feel like whatever come down the pipe, man, I have the capacity and the inner resources to respond to it and deal with it. I have the spiritual maturity and the intellectual capacity to respond to anything that happens in my day, anything that happens in my life today, and deal with it like a man's supposed to deal with it, instead of being a man dealing with things like a little boy. You know what I'm saying? And even if I choose to deal with it like a little boy, it was a choice that I made, not a conditioned response. That's power. That's the power of choice. Is the only thing that can be done to secure happiness and unassailable inner peace is through spiritual cultivation. And that's the point, man. We have to continue to cultivate ourselves spiritually, man. Because if we continue to cultivate ourselves spiritually, then we could be better for one another. You know, got a lot of savagery going amongst us as a people, man. You know what I'm saying? There's a disconnect between the youth and the older generations, and the lack of spiritual cultivation has us acting in savage ways. You know what I'm saying? And what we need to do, man, is learn how to develop and acquire spiritual skills and cultivate ourselves spiritually so we can respond to this damn dynamic in this society we living in. There's some wicked shit going on in the world today. You know what I'm saying? And unless we make sure that we are spiritually strong and understand and connected to that divine essence of who we are, we're going to be swayed, tossed, and thrown by the society. And I just wanted to, man, try to express that, man. I hope, man, that, you know what I'm saying, I wasn't all over the place with it. You know what I'm saying? I got the thick tongue. I don't know how to talk very well. I do the best I can. I always wanted to be an intellectual, but I never made it. You know what I'm saying? So I do the best I can. And I hope that what I was trying to convey about the information that I just presented to you was palatable. Peace. Big here. I'm out.